So today we are submitting some cards with Ace Grading, who are my preferred grading company of choice because they look so nice, even if the slabs maybe aren't as valuable. These are all cards that we've pulled ourselves from Mega Evolution, including some absolutely massive hitters. But before we look at those, it's worth talking about who Ace are and why I choose to use them. When I'm sending cards off, I'm mostly using Ace for all of my grading needs. Partly because sending them to PSA from the UK is such a complicated process, and partly because I find Ace to be a really reputable, really strong company in the grading space, and the quality of the cards and the slabs that come back are, in my opinion, second to none. So for those who aren't familiar, Ace are a UK-based grading company owned by Randolph, who specialise in grading slabs but also creating beautiful artwork for the labels so that the slabs you get back look more interesting and, in my opinion, are more of a collector's item as opposed to PSA, who tend to, I find the labels maybe not as interesting overall, so they're not actually as nice to look at. It's important to note that with Ace, they don't hold their value in the same way that PSA does, so if you're just in this for the money, PSA is the route to go. It will take longer and it is a more complicated process, and sometimes it can cost more. But if you do get 10s, PSA will hold its value better than Ace. Ace typically ends up being around 75% for a 10 of what a PSA 10 would be. If you're in the UK, Ace is one of the two big companies that you'll see slabs from at any of the card shows or shops, the other being PSA. And because it's so popular, it can be really hard to get your cards graded with them at the moment. They've got a huge backlog, which means that it's maybe not the most appealing prospect. If you're going to be submitting these days, you need to be on the Discord. You need to be live at 6 o'clock because they only put a few slots up every single day, and then once they're gone, and there tends to be a huge demand for those. So getting a slot with Ace in and of itself is a bit of a challenge these days. And they tend to only really have a couple of options available which are on the more expensive side. It used to be that their ultra tier was £25 for their most premium tier, but they've now introduced a £50 tier as well for a 2-day turnaround. In my opinion, that is a little bit cheeky versus the 5-day turnaround, which is £25 a card. That's the service that I usually select, partly because I'm a little bit impatient and partly because it tends to be more readily available than the cheaper tiers. They tend to sell out almost immediately. I do find, though, that when you get Ace back, it's so handy to be able to have the grading reports, to be able to see all of the detail around the centering, the corner, the surface, and the edges as to what the actual score for your card is. And having that all available within the app, or within the dashboard, is incredibly useful. These also provide a really good submission process. Once you've submitted and you send it off, you can track all of it online and exactly what stage everything is at. And being able to follow that process along, whether you're using that for a 30-day turnaround or sort of a 5-day turnaround, it's really reassuring to know that your submission hasn't been lost into the ether because you're sending off cards that can have quite a large monetary value, or you're sending off ones that can have quite a lot of sentimental value. I've used Ace quite a lot in the past for some of my absolute favourite submissions, and I just find that the artwork is really strong on them. So, for my Ace submission, I've got 6 of the best cards that I've been saving up over the last couple of months, both from purchases but also from pulls. We'll start with 2 SIR's Lily Determination from the new Mega Set. I think this is an absolutely stunning card. Trainers aren't always the most popular. This one's really nice, really clean. It's a little left heavy, the centering. I don't think this is a 10. It's a nice card. I think it's worth getting graded anyway, and sometimes, with Ace, they're not. They can be a little generous, I think, with the 60-40 rule. So let's see. But I think, prediction-wise, this is probably a 9. This one, however, I do think has a good potential for getting a 10. Centering is really clean. There are no marks on the corners. No edge whitening, at least as far as I can see. So I think we've got a really good shot here. And
We'll have to obviously see what it's going to come back as. But I'm optimistic. Let's see. Next up, the Marshadow. As an illustration rare, I don't love this. I don't quite get the hype around it. I know Pikachu's in it as well, and it kind of harkens back to a slightly older card. But in and of itself, I think the art is a little plain. The centering on this is maybe a tiny bit left and top heavy, maybe. But it looks reasonable. I don't see any massive issues. Grading illustration rares is always harder than grading SIRs. Not entirely sure why that is. I think maybe the quality of them tends not to be quite so controlled. I reckon, though, that this has a reasonable chance of a 10. A reasonable chance. Next up, we've got the Seismitoad from Black Bolt. I know Shinji Kama is a very popular artist, and I get why. Seismitoad is an ugly Pokemon. So even though it's a good artist, drawing an ugly thing, I don't love this. So I'm very happy to try and get it graded. I think it's still over £100 raw. And then if I can use that money, if I get a good result, to trade that for something that I'm going to enjoy a little bit more, then I'm very happy to do so. I think the centering is decent. I've not seen any edges or corners with any lightning or any marks at the moment. It's a pretty clean copy. I think I pulled this the first day Black Bolt came out, actually. So I'm optimistic for a 10. Realistically, maybe like a minimum, this is a 9. I'm optimistic for a 10. Let's see. And the Charizard is a stunning card. Some people aren't a massive fan of it because the actual Pokemon on it is, it's quite small. But I just think there's something about the whole illustration set, with the Charmander to the Charmeleon all the way up to the Charizard. Him flying free, him looking like a teeny bit tubby. I don't know. Like it's cute. It says it has a sort of a sense of freedom around it that I really enjoy. The centering on it is good. No issues with centering. However, in the top right corner, there is a small white fleck. Let's see if the camera can pick it up. So I don't know whether the cornering is going to bring this down. I don't think this is a 10. I think this is a 9. Given that I've got both the Venusaur and the Blastoise slabbed up, and this is my only copy of this card, I want to send it in. I want to see what we're going to get. And finally, by far and away the most valuable card that I own and have ever pulled, we have the new Mega Lucario. I think the centering, strong on this one. I don't see any huge issues with centering. There aren't many concerns in terms of corners. There is, on this top right, there is a slight one, which I think could cause issues. But along the top edge, the cutting hasn't been the best quality. So you can see it's almost like a dual cut there as they've layered the foil over. So I think if this takes marks off, it's going to be on the edging in particular. So, man, I'm hopeful because these things are going for like over £1,500. But realistically, I think this is a 9 as well.
I submitted the Ultra tier, which was £25 a card, and there are definitely cheaper options, but I wanted that 5-day business turnaround because I'm quite impatient with these things, and it was just a 6-card submission. So that's £25 a card. I then paid for the Ace labels, which it is worth noting, to get the really nice coloured inclusive matching labels. That is an additional £3 a card. So in total, that took me to £173.99 for a 5 business day turnaround. So our Ace parcel has just returned. We're going to have a look at what the cards are. But before we do, it's worth going over the dates and how long this actually took. So we went for the Ultra service, which is an estimated 5 working days in terms of turnaround. We sent it in on the 17th, so that was a Friday. It was processed on the 20th, that being the Monday. It was then finished in terms of that processing, in terms of the grading process and payment on the 27th. So that was yesterday, and then it was posted yesterday and arrived early this morning. So obviously the postage in terms of the DHL has been extremely fast. So while they gave a 5 working day estimated turnaround, it actually ended up being 6 and 11 days in total from when I sent the package in. All in all, I don't think that's too bad. I've heard some recent horror stories on some of the Discords and forums about some of the parcels and grading being stuck in limbo, particularly on the QA2 within the grading process. taking quite a long time, and there's sort of this limbo that can creep in. But ours was faster than I was expecting, so I'm really happy with the overall time that it's taken for it to come back. So as you can see, it's come in this DHL parcel. It's been posted incredibly quickly, and let's take a look at what's inside. The DHL box is considerably larger than the Ace box, which means that in shipping, there's an enormous amount of room and movement that our Ace box could go through, so it's potentially going to be knocking the slabs around. So I think they should really be adding some kind of padding in here or something, just to ensure that, we pay a lot of money for these cards, and sometimes they can be worth quite a lot. We don't want them sliding all over this internal packaging, so that's not ideal. The Ace box itself is very neat. It's got the nice little logo, the label here, so overall, it's an attractive looking box. Let's get it cracked open. I'll get my scissors. Okay, here we go. So you can see we've got my slabs at the end, and then we've got this, I guess it's just packing paper that's been shoved to stop the cards sort of slipping and sliding within here. I mean, it's more than sufficient in terms of, protecting the cards, I think, during transit, so that's fine. So we've got our 6 cards from Ace here, all slabbed up, and I do really like these slabs. Just the feel of them in the hand, they're really solid. I've owned a few different slabs from different companies. By far and away, I think just Ace, the feel of them, you can't really compare it. And even if the price isn't there versus some of their competitors, I do think it's worth it just for the feel and the look of the slabs as a collector. Okay, so first up, we've got Lily's Determination. Now, I had 2 of these. One I predicted was going to be a 10, and one I predicted was going to be a 9. I think this is such a beautiful card. And the Ace label at the top, that's really nice. We've got the sun coming in, a little bit of the reflection of the sky, continues the theme. It's almost like a beach day out. That's absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so we're hoping for at least a 9. I think this one was the one that was going to be... Yeah, I think this one was going to be the one that was going to be a 9. So let's have a look. Oh, a 10. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I really like that. Oh, man, that's good. Okay. Oh, extremely pleased with that. Okay, so that might be one for the personal collection then, just because the card art is so nice and the Ace label looks so good. Oh, delighted about that. All right. And next up, we've got another Lily's Determination. Okie dokie. So if that one was the 10, then we're probably predicting this one was going to be the 9. Yeah, you can see the centering isn't quite so good on it. So I think a 9 would be pretty reasonable here, probably for the centering. Oh, a 10 again. Oh, that's amazing. Okay. I don't think we were expecting that by any stretch. Okay, that is fantastic. So we've got both of those in 10s. That's extremely good. What a good way to start. The advantage of this, of course, is that I can keep one in my personal collection and the other one I can potentially trade in. I'm really eyeing that Guadalvar, and I'm going to the London Card Show at the weekend, so it might be ideal for that. Now, this is curious. We seem to have been sent a top loader of a Cinder Ace that's been included within our submission. So I wonder if someone has sent this in as getting it graded. I can't think of why we've received a Cinder Ace in a top loader. That's really bizarre. I've never heard of that before. Okay, I might have to contact customer support. I wouldn't want someone's card to have been sent to us by accident. That's really odd. But at the same time, I can't think why Ace... why would someone be sending just a regular holo card off to get graded? I mean, it's cool, I guess, but it's nothing special about it. I might have to research this. Okay, that's really bizarre. Let's put that to the side. How odd. Okay, next up we have the Charizard from 151. Oh, man. Okay, so I did think this was going to be a 9 because I think there was a little bit of damage to one of the corners on the back. It's such a gorgeous card. And I've got the Venusaur and the Blastoise in 10, so if this is a 10, I don't know, I'll absolutely scream. So I do expect a 9. and it's a 9. Okay, look, it's not an 8 because sometimes you can do worse than you expect. A 9 is reasonable, I think, for this card. A 9 is pretty much what it deserves. It's a shame it's not a 10. Sometimes you get lucky with grading, but man, it's gorgeous. Okay, happy with that, or at least content with that. Now we've got the Seismitoad. Never been a huge fan of this card, but it's still going for over £100 raw. When I was looking at eBay the other day, I thought this was going to be a 10. I think it's a really good condition card. I mean, maybe a borderline 9 or 10, but I think the prediction was 10 overall. And we get a 9. That is a shame because the value can spike quite a lot on the 10s. Look, it's going to be one that we trade in. Not too fussed about it. A 10 would have been good because obviously we get more value from it, but it is what it is. Now I've got the Marshadow. Now the prices of this have come down. I think it's sort of £20 to £25 raw at the moment, and it was 30 or 40. And previously, before that, it was like up at the 50s or 60s. Like it was crazy the way it was inflated. Mostly, it's the Pikachu tax at the bottom. Now we thought this was going to be a 10, and I really hope it is because again, it's going to be one I trade in at this weekend at the card show, and I think it's going for over £100 in a 10, so it would be like a good chunk of value. And we get a 10. Okay, so that matches our prediction. Good. I think the Ace label's fine here. I don't think it does a huge amount compared to some of the other Ace labels, but it's like whatever, right? We're going to be trading it in. Fine. Glad that we got a 10. That's good for us. So this must be. Oh yeah, this is the biggie. This is the Lucario, the gold Mega Lucario. I've seen these come back in 10s. I've seen some people come back in 8s recently because I think there have been some issues with print lines on them and some of the textures on the surfaces have been a little off. We predicted a 9 for this because there was some it's like separation of the foil along the top edge, but we were certainly hoping for a 10. And let's see. Okay, a 9. 9 is what we expected. And overall, the card with the label does look much nicer than I gave it credit for. I was not a big fan of these gold cards when I first saw them, but I'm starting to come around to them, I think. I don't know. I'm really torn on this one, actually, as to whether I'm going to trade it in and just try and get something I really love. The price has come down on these quite a lot, actually, recently. And I think the price might go back up, so I don't know whether it's worth holding on to it until maybe sometime next year when the price might be a little bit more reflective of the rarity. I'm not sure. So I guess I'll just see on this one. Either way, with the label, the way the reflections are working on the card, it's really nice. Editor Phil here, just interjecting quickly. I decided to pay for the grading report for the Lucario because it's such a valuable card. And you can see that while it's a 9 overall, it did get 10s for both centering, corners, and edges, which is massive because I thought actually it was going to be the edges that let us down, and it's the surface instead that's an 8. So I'm thinking at the moment what's probably worth doing is actually cracking it, seeing if I can give it a clean off, use some microfiber, give it like a little bit of, a TLC and see if that will help, and ultimately resubmit it, because if I can just nudge that surface to a 9 with the rest of them, and particularly the centering getting a 10, I think I've got a good shot at getting a 10 again. So all in all, I think we did about where we expected to be. Our two big ones, the Charizard and the Lucario, unfortunately both got 9s, but we were expecting that. They weren't really 10 copies. It was more wishful thinking. The Seismitoad, I'm a little disappointed that got a 9. I did think that was a 10. But both of the Lilies coming back as 10s, that's really good. I'm absolutely delighted about that. And they're really nice. And it means I can trade one in and then not feel guilty about it. All right. So that has been our Ace submission overall. Would I grade with Ace again? I think the answer is yes. I think the price of them has come down considerably, especially versus PSA over the last couple of weeks. And sometimes getting a slot and the process around it can be really convoluted and quite confusing. You need to be on the Discord at 6 p.m. on the dot to be able to secure one. It's painful. but the quality of the slabs and the convenience of having somewhere in the UK to send them off to, transparent pricing, and the fact that look, I can take it to any card show, I can take it really to any shop. They'll know who Ace are. They will be able to trade me in. They'll be able to give a good price for it. I think it's still a very reputable company and well worth using at the end of 2025 and going into 2026. So this will definitely not be my last submission with them. Thanks all massively for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I've got some other videos on the channel. If you'd like to see some of my recent openings, they're going to be on the screen now. Thank you. Bye-bye.